My name is Mabel Hart. I'm 62 years old, a widow of 7 years, and I thought I had already lived through the worst pain a heart could carry. Losing my husband, Daniel, was like losing the rhythm of my world. But nothing prepared me for the day my own son betrayed me in a way I still struggle to speak aloud. The day it happened started quietly, the kind of morning where grief sits with you like an old, familiar guest. I brewed Daniel's favorite tea, jasmine with a splash of honey, and stood by the window overlooking our tired front lawn. His classic car, a 1974 Mustang he restored with his own hands, sat in the driveway, shining faintly in the early sun. 4 years, that car was his sanctuary. My husband wasn't a man of grand gestures, but every bolt he tightened, every coat of paint he polished, was love poured into steel. Sometimes I'd watch him through the kitchen window, humming off-key, his hands smudged with grease, his smile soft and peaceful. That car wasn't just metal. It was 20 years of Sundays. It was marriage, memories, and moments we'd never get back. So when my son Jacob walked in that morning looking nervous, eyes darting everywhere except at me, I thought he was finally ready to talk to me about his failing marriage. I never expected the words that came out of his mouth. Mom, I sold Dad's car. At first, I laughed. I truly did. A small, confused laugh that trembled in my throat, because surely he was joking. Surely my son wouldn't sell the one thing his father cherished, the one thing that, after death, still felt like Daniel standing beside me. But Jacob's face didn't soften. He said the money was needed. He said it was practical. He said I didn't drive it anyway. Then he said the words that split something inside of me. Julie and I are going to Paris. It's been her dream for years. We deserve this break. Paris. He sold his father's legacy to take his new wife on a vacation. I felt something inside me sink so low it scraped the floor of my stomach. You used your father's car? The car he spent half his life restoring? For a trip. My voice cracked. The disappointment tasted metallic in my mouth. Jacob, how could you? And his answer? A shrug. A careless shrug from the boy I raised with love and hard lessons. The boy whose scraped knees I tended and whose nightmares I soothed. The boy Daniel adored. Mom, it's just a car, he said. Just a car. Just a car. As if grief wasn't real. As if memories could be replaced with airline tickets and Instagram photos. He left the house shortly after, mumbling something about packing. I stood in the living room staring at the empty driveway, my heart pounding so hard it felt like my ribs would crack. It was gone. The Mustang was gone. The last thing of Daniel's that still felt alive. I didn't even get to touch it one last time. For the first time in years, I felt truly alone. That night, I barely slept. I kept imagining Daniel sitting beside me, wiping his hands on that old rag he always kept in his back pocket. Don't let people mistake your kindness for weakness, Mabel, he used to say. He said it so many times it felt like a blessing. Or maybe a warning. By dawn, I had wiped my tears and tried to accept what happened. What else could I do? What power does a widow have against her own child's selfishness? But life has a strange way of stirring the ashes you think are dead. Because around noon, just when my heart felt the heaviest, my phone rang. The caller ID said Simpson Auto Restorations. The dealership. The one that bought Daniel's car. I hesitated. My hands trembled as I answered. Mrs. Hart? The man said, his voice calm but tinged with something urgent. This is Thomas Simpson. I thought you should know. Well, something came up. Something about your husband's car. My breath caught in my chest. What do you mean? I asked. There was a pause. Long enough for dread to crawl up my spine. Ma'am, he finally said, I believe your husband left something hidden inside the vehicle. Something important. And I don't think your son, or his wife, knew anything about it. My heart hammered. Hidden? Important? My Daniel? What did you find? I whispered. I think you should come in, he said quietly. It's something you'll want to see for yourself. At that moment, I knew my story wasn't over. Daniel had left me something. And whatever it was about to change everything. When I pulled into the dealership parking lot, my heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I wasn't built for confrontation. I wasn't built for mysteries. I was built for raising children, loving a husband, and keeping a home steady. But life doesn't care about who you used to be. It cares about who you must become. The dealership was quieter than I expected. The glass doors slid open with a hush, and a man with silver hair and kind eyes stepped toward me. Thomas Simpson. He looked like someone who had seen enough life to recognize pain without needing it explained. "Mrs. Hart?" he asked gently. I nodded, clutching my purse strap like a lifeline. "I'm sorry to bring you in like this," he said, guiding me toward the back of the shop, "but after what we found, I felt you deserved to know first." My breath hitched. "You said there was something my husband left behind?" Thomas sighed a little, as if choosing his words carefully. "Yes. And it seems intentional. Very intentional." We stepped into the restoration room. And there, under the bright shop lights, was Daniel's Mustang. My knees nearly buckled. Seeing it again felt like seeing a ghost that wasn't ready to let go. I approached it slowly, my fingers tracing the cool metal. "Oh, Daniel, what did you do?" Thomas lifted the driver's seat with a practiced motion and pulled out a thin, dusty envelope tucked beneath the springs. The sight of my husband's handwriting, strong, slanted, unmistakably his, made my breath catch. "Mabel." That was all it said. My throat tightened. Why didn't he tell me about this? "People hide things for many reasons," Thomas said softly. "Sometimes to protect the ones they love." My hands shook as I slid my finger under the flap and opened the envelope. Inside was a single flash drive and a folded letter. The smell of old paper hit me like a wave. The handwriting inside was undeniably Daniel's. I forced myself to read. "If you're reading this, my love, then I'm gone. And I fear there are things you need to know. Not because I wanted to leave you with pain, but because someone you trust is not who they appear to be." My vision blurred. Someone I trust? Who? My son? No. God, no. But his wife, Julie. I kept reading. "I never wanted to burden you with this. You always saw the good in everyone. But I saw something different. I saw the way she looked at Jacob. The way she talked about you when she thought you couldn't hear. And most of all, I saw what she was doing behind his back." My stomach clenched. I collected evidence. I didn't know how to use it. I didn't want you to ever need it. But if life proves me right, and I pray it doesn't, this drive will protect you. And our son. That was it. No signature. No goodbye. Just protection from the grave. My hands dropped to my lap. I couldn't breathe. Julie, manipulating my son? Talking about me behind my back? Cheating on him? The pieces started shifting in my mind. Small things I ignored. Strange comments. Julie's sudden coldness when it was just the two of us. The way she pushed Jacob to make decisions fast. Too fast. How long was this in the car? I whispered. Thomas sighed. "Your husband left the car with us for a tune-up 2 months before he passed. He told me if anything ever happened to him, to call you if I ever came across something unusual." I covered my mouth. Tears burned my eyes. Daniel had planned this. He had known something was wrong long before any of us did. And he didn't want to worry me. "What's on the drive?" I asked. We didn't open it. It felt personal. I nodded slowly. "Thank you." Thomas helped me to a chair as the room spun. My world, already fragile, was cracking again. But this time, something else stirred beneath the grief. Anger. Not loud anger. Not wild or reckless. But cold. Focused. Sharp. The kind of anger only a mother, or a widow, can feel. I closed the letter gently. "I need to take this home." Thomas placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "If you need anything, if this becomes bigger than you expect, you call me." I nodded, though my mind was already racing ahead. Someone had underestimated me. Someone thought a widow's grief made her weak. Someone believed I would never uncover the truth. But Daniel believed in me. He trusted me to finish what he started. And for the first time since he died, I felt him beside me. I walked out of the dealership clutching the flash drive, my husband's final gift. Julie thought she married a naive family. Jacob thought he was just making his wife happy. But they had no idea what Daniel had left behind. No idea what I was about to uncover. And absolutely no idea who they were underestimating. When I got home, I locked the door behind me. Not out of fear, out of instinct. Instinct told me that whatever Daniel had left on that flash drive wasn't meant for other ears. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Daniel and I once shared morning coffee and whispered dreams we never got to finish. Now it was just me, the flash drive, and the weight of a secret that felt too heavy for my old bones. My laptop hummed to life. I slid the flash drive in. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a single folder appeared. For Mabel. Only if necessary. I whispered. Oh, Daniel, what did you do? Inside the folder were 3 video files, each labeled with dates. All from the year Daniel got sick. My hands trembled as I clicked the first one. The screen flickered, and suddenly there was my husband, sitting in his garage, looking sicker than I remembered but still with that familiar gentle steadiness in his eyes. Hi, love, he said, his voice soft but steady. If you're watching this, then I didn't make it. I pressed a hand to my mouth. I didn't want to hear him talk like that. Not again. But I forced myself to keep watching. I've tried to keep this from you because you deserve peace. But peace is not what Julie is after. My heart tightened. He continued. I overheard her on the phone. More than once. Talking about Jacob as if he were disposable. Talking about finances, about waiting for the right moment. She mentioned a man named Victor. I didn't want to believe it at first. My stomach twisted. A man? Another man? Daniel took a shaky breath and lifted a small notebook in his hand. Every time she slipped, I wrote it down. Times, dates, names. Just in case. I recognized the notebook instantly, the little blue one he always kept in his garage drawer. The one I never thought twice about. I'm leaving this in the car because Julie has never cared about it. She thinks it's junk, just like she thinks we are. She'll never look for it there. He paused. Tired. Hurting. I'm not telling you to act. I'm not telling you to fight her. But if she ever hurts you, or our son, this is the truth she hides. The video ended. I sat frozen. A part of me wanted to shut the laptop, throw the drive away, pretend none of this existed. But another part, stronger, fiercer, knew I couldn't. I opened the second video. Julie's voice filled the speakers. Cold, sharp, cruel. I'm tired of his mother, she hissed. She's always around. She acts like she owns everything. Once we get the money sorted, I'm done pretending. A man's voice, deep, unfamiliar, replied. Just hang on. You'll get the payout when Jacob signs. Payout? Signs what? My heart pounded harder with every second. And the car? The man asked. Julie scoffed. Sold it. Finally. That old tin can meant everything to her. She probably cried when she realized it was gone. They laughed. Laughed. I felt something crack inside me, something that would never fully heal. The third video was worse. It was security footage. Grainy, but clear enough. Julie at a restaurant. Kissing the man from the phone call. Whispering into his ear. Holding his hand. Their intimacy unmistakable. The timestamp was from 3 months ago. 3 months. While my son worked double shifts. While I babysat their dog because Julie was too stressed. While she smiled in my face and called me Mom. I slammed the laptop shut. The house felt too quiet. Too small. Too filled with betrayal. I stood and paced the kitchen as if movement could tame the storm in my chest. My son didn't know. Of that much I was certain. He was loyal, too loyal, blind in all the ways Daniel never was. My husband had tried to warn us. He tried to protect us. And now, it was my turn. I stared out the window, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the lawn. I used to fear being alone. But at that moment, loneliness wasn't what I felt. I felt purpose. Cold. Focused. Unshakable purpose. Julie thought she won. She thought she sold the car and buried the past. She thought I'd crumble quietly, like a fragile old woman with more grief than strength. But she forgot something. Daniel didn't marry a weak woman. He didn't leave one behind. I wiped my tears, inhaled deeply, and whispered to the empty room. "It's my turn now, Daniel." Because this wasn't just betrayal. This was a challenge. And she had no idea what kind of woman she just provoked. I didn't sleep that night. Not for a second. I sat at the kitchen table with Daniel's letter beside me, the flash drive tucked safely in my sweater pocket, and a storm inside me that no amount of tea could calm. Anger looks different on an older woman. It isn't loud. It isn't reckless. It isn't dramatic. It is steady, cold, controlled. It is a silent decision. I will not let this continue. By dawn, I had a plan. Not a full one, not yet, but the skeleton of something sharp enough to cut through the lies Julie built around my son. My first step was simple. Confirm the truth before confronting anyone. I needed leverage, timing, and precision. Daniel used to say, if you strike before you understand the battlefield, you lose. He wasn't a soldier, but he had fought enough life battles to earn the wisdom. The sun wasn't even out when I dialed Jacob's number. No answer. Of course not. He and Julie were probably too busy packing for Paris. I sat back and breathed. I couldn't tell him yet, not over the phone. Not while she was near him. Not while she still had influence over his decisions. So I started with something smaller. Something subtle. I called the dealership. Thomas answered after 2 rings. "Mrs. Hart, I need a favor," I said quietly. "Anything." "Do you still have the security footage of the day my son sold the car?" He hesitated. "We keep everything for 90 days. "Why?" "I need a copy." Another pause. Then, "I understand. Come by any time." I hung up, my heart steadying. Step 1. Collect evidence. Step 2. Expose Julie carefully. Step 3. Protect Jacob, even if it hurts him at first. But life has a way of squeezing pressure into every empty space. And that morning, pressure arrived right on my doorstep. A knock. Sharp. Impatient. I opened the door expecting a package. Instead, I found Julie standing there. Fresh makeup, manicured nails, wearing sunglasses on her head like she owned the sun. "Mabel," she said with a tight smile. "We need to talk." The audacity nearly stunned me. But I forced myself to stay neutral. "Come. What brings you here so early?" I asked. She pushed past me into the house without permission, her perfume filling the air like poison. "It's about Jacob." My heart clenched, but not with fear. With anger. "What about him?" I asked, closing the door quietly. She turned, folding her arms. "He's stressed. You've been overwhelming him lately. He needs space." I stared at her. This woman, who mocked me behind my back, who lied to my son, who betrayed him, stood in my home telling me to give him space? "Is that so?" I said softly. "Yes," she snapped. And the constant reminders about his father's junk car didn't help. Honestly, that thing needed to be gone ages ago. The words hit me like a slap. But I stayed still. Old age teaches you the power of silence. Nothing rattles a liar more. I stepped past her, calmly pouring myself a cup of tea. "Julie," I said, stirring slowly, "do you know what Daniel used to tell me?" She rolled her eyes. "I'm sure you're going to tell me." I smiled, a gentle one. A dangerous one. He said people reveal the truth when they feel comfortable, but they reveal even more when they feel safe. She frowned. And I'm glad you feel safe enough to speak your mind in my home." Her face stiffened, unsure now. "Good." I took a sip of tea, forcing calm into every movement. "Is Jacob in the car?" I asked. "No. He dropped me off. He's running errands." "Ah." Another silence. Then she sighed dramatically. "Look, Mabel. We're leaving for Paris in 2 days. I want everything calm before we go. No drama. No emotional guilt." My jaw clenched, but I kept my expression controlled. "I see," I said. "You've always made Jacob feel responsible for you," she continued lightly. "But he's married now. His loyalty belongs to me." There it was. The truth she hid behind smiles. Her arrogance. Her entitlement. My hand tightened around the mug. "Julie," I said quietly, "marriage doesn't erase family. And loyalty isn't something you take. It's something you earn." She scoffed. Whatever. Just stay out of our way for the next few days. She walked toward the door, heels tapping like nails being hammered into wood. Before she left, she turned back with a smirk. Oh, and Mabel? Try not to cry over that car anymore. It's embarrassing. Then she left. Just like that. I stood in the doorway long after her silhouette disappeared. Embarrassing? She had no idea. I walked slowly to my bedroom, opened Daniel's letter again, and whispered. She thinks I'm done. But I'm just getting started. Because now, it wasn't just about protecting Jacob. It was about honoring Daniel. And showing Julie exactly what happens when you underestimate the quietest person in the room. The next morning, I woke early. The house was quiet, as it always is before the world forces itself upon you. My tea sat untouched on the counter as I stared at the flash drive and Daniel's notebook. Together, they were a weapon. But one must strike carefully. Clumsy moves break the weapon and ruin the plan. I knew Julie thrived on confidence. Arrogance was her shield. She believed no one could touch her. That's why subtlety was my ally. Step 1. Make her comfortable. Step 2. Reveal the truth. Slowly, with precision. Step 3. Watch her crumble. I called Thomas at the dealership again. I need copies of all the security footage, including the day Jacob sold the Mustang. Already ready, he said. I was hoping you'd come by today. Perfect, I replied. I'll be there after breakfast. I hung up and turned my attention to Jacob. He was blissfully unaware of the storm brewing under his roof, and I had no intention of scaring him, yet. The plan had to be surgical. By noon, I was at the dealership. Thomas greeted me with a nod and handed me a sealed folder containing the footage. My hands shook slightly, less from fear, more from anticipation. Everything? I asked. Everything, Thomas confirmed. I've also added a copy of the original sales documents for the Mustang. I nodded. My mind raced. If Julie had laughed at me when she sold the car, if she had treated Daniel's legacy like nothing, she would not survive seeing her lies unravel before everyone. I left the dealership and returned home, hiding the folder in a drawer. The next move was psychological. Julie had to believe she was untouchable, then the fall would be spectacular. It was almost dusk when she called. Mom, she said, trying to sound casual. I just wanted to let you know Jacob and I are finalizing everything for Paris. Don't worry, okay? We're leaving tomorrow. I smiled quietly into the phone. Of course, Julie. Safe travels. Make sure you keep your documents in order. You'd hate to lose something important, wouldn't you? There was a pause. Documents. Oh, I said sweetly. Just little things. Receipts. Agreements. Old records. Nothing to worry about. Her voice tightened. Well, thanks for the reminder, I guess. I hung up. Her reaction was perfect. She was already uneasy, just a whisper of doubt planted. That evening, I prepared the next layer. I typed a brief, neutral-sounding email to Jacob. Hey, I found some documents from Dad's old Mustang. Nothing major, but you might want to see them before you leave for Paris. Come by after work. It was casual, almost boring. But I knew Jacob would show up, and that would give me the perfect opportunity. Sure enough, 2 hours later, Jacob walked in, exhausted, with his usual warmth and trust. I handed him the folder. What's this? He asked, flipping it open. Just some old car stuff, I said lightly. Your father wanted you to have it. Jacob smiled, not suspicious. Thanks, Mom. You always keep track of everything. I nodded, watching his guard slip. Meanwhile, Julie was on edge in Paris, her phone lighting up with texts she couldn't control, her emails pinging. My messages were calculated. Nothing overt. Just enough to make her feel the walls closing in. That night, I made my final preparation. I arranged the flash drive, the notebook, and the security footage neatly on my desk. Tomorrow, Julie would see the truth, and there would be no denying it. I thought of Daniel, imagining him whispering from somewhere beyond. Now, Mabel. Show them what it means to underestimate us. It wasn't just revenge. It wasn't just justice. It was recognition. A statement that wisdom, courage, and love are not measured by youth. By the time the sun rose the next morning, the trap was set. Julie had no idea what was coming. She thought she had already won. She didn't realize that every lie she had whispered, every manipulation, every cruel little smile, it was all on record. All documented. All ready to be exposed. And the best part? She would never see me coming. Because sometimes, the most dangerous people are the quietest. The ones who have lived long enough to know how to wait. The ones who have nothing to lose, except letting injustice go unpunished. Tomorrow, Julie would learn a lesson she would never forget. The morning sunlight spilled across my kitchen, but I barely noticed it. My hands were steady, my mind sharp. Everything was in place. The flash drive, the notebook, the security footage, and most importantly, the truth that would finally speak louder than Julie's lies. Jacob arrived first, as expected. I handed him the flash drive and explained calmly, "This is your father's final gift. I think it's time you see everything for yourself." He looked at me, puzzled. "Mom, what is this?" "Something your father wanted you to know," I said softly. "Something you need before making any big decisions." I watched him plug the drive into his laptop, his eyes widening as Daniel's videos played. He saw Julie's secret calls, the men she met behind his back, the coldness she disguised with smiles. He saw it all, crystal clear. "Mom, I had no idea," he whispered, voice shaking. I thought she loved me." I placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Jacob, love isn't hiding lies behind your back. Your father knew the truth. And he left it to protect you, from her, and from yourself." His hands trembled as he closed the folder. Silence hung heavy, but it was a different kind of silence now. It wasn't grief. It wasn't confusion. It was clarity. By the time Julie called later that afternoon, her voice sharp, demanding, Jacob was ready. He stayed calm, polite, but firm. "I've seen everything, Julie," he said evenly. "The calls. The meetings. The lies." Her laughter cracked like glass. "Jacob, what are you talking about?" "I know everything," he repeated, "and I'm done being manipulated." I listened from the kitchen, letting him take the lead. I didn't need to speak. Daniel's wisdom, Daniel's foresight, and my patience had done the work I couldn't do alone. Julie's voice grew frantic. "Jacob, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly," he interrupted, and I could hear the tremor in her tone now. "Mom gave me everything I needed to see the truth. And now, you won't have the power to lie anymore." I smiled quietly. Justice doesn't always have to roar. Sometimes, it whispers and waits, and when it finally moves, it strikes with precision. Within the hour, Julie realized that Paris, the getaway she had planned on exploiting, didn't matter anymore. Her influence over Jacob was gone. The money she thought she would manipulate was now irrelevant. The facade she relied on had shattered, all because she underestimated an elderly widow who refused to stay silent. Later, Jacob and I sat together in the living room. He looked at me, eyes full of gratitude and regret. "I should have listened sooner," he admitted. "I didn't see what she was doing, and I should have trusted you." I reached out and squeezed his hand. "You see now. And that's what matters. We can move forward, together." There was relief, yes, but there was also something else, pride. I had fought quietly, carefully, and I had won. Not with anger or revenge for the sake of anger, but with patience, strategy, and love. Daniel would have been proud. By evening, I returned to the Mustang, which was safely back in our driveway thanks to Thomas's cooperation. I ran my hands over the polished metal and thought of my husband, remembering his gentle smile, his quiet wisdom, and the way he had always protected us, even after he was gone. I whispered into the empty garage, "We did it, Daniel. We protected our family. And we showed them what it means to underestimate us." It wasn't just about a car. It wasn't just about a deceitful daughter-in-law. It was about respect. It was about justice. And it was about proving that age and grief are never signs of weakness. That night, as I went to bed, I felt lighter than I had in years. The storm had passed. The betrayal had been exposed. And the truth, the one thing Daniel had trusted me with, had restored everything worth protecting. Sometimes, people think the elderly are weak, naive, or powerless. But Daniel and I knew better. Age is experience, patience, wisdom. And when all of that comes together, even the quietest person can change the course of events and protect the people they love most. Julie never saw it coming. Jacob finally woke up to reality. And I, Mabel Hart, stood in the calm after the storm, knowing that love, courage, and cleverness had won. Because it's never too late to fight for what's right. And it's never too late to show the world that underestimating an older woman is the gravest mistake anyone can make.